today, and now you feel fat today also. You're welcome. And now there's a podcast.
Welcome to I Feel Fat Today, the show where we dispel diet myths, see what's new in diet culture, and investigate your relationship with food. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. Oh, thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Friday. This episode is coming out on time. All is right with the world. Everything's fine. There's nothing to be upset about, right? That's what I keep telling myself. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me. Happy to be here. Some housekeeping before we get into the interview with our guest. It's a great one. Head over to YouTube and subscribe. Over on YouTube is where we have full video episodes of the podcast. You can like and leave a comment and get an inside look at my apartment when you watch on YouTube. Then go head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Let the people know that you enjoyed the show. Follow us over there. And follow us on social media. Follow the podcast page at I Feel Fat Today, where we post clips and updates about the show. And follow me, your host, Kelly Taylor, over at Hello, This is Kelly. If you want to send us an email, you can reach out to us at ifeelfattoday@gmail.com. All right, this is going to be short and sweet. I have a great interview with a fantastic guest. It was a great conversation. So lovely. Please welcome to the show, Vannessa Jackson. How are you?
Honestly, I'm good.
Good. I
I'm
like
chilling.
to hear that.
Yeah. Does anyone come on and they're like terrible?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh really?
All the time.
Classic comedians.
Yeah.
Classic.
Always. I should honestly, when I ask that question, I should trend when the episodes are recorded in the winter compared to the summer.
Oh, that is true.
Because I'm almost certain that it's a concentrated amount in the winter.
That is fair.
Time and time again, I forget how much this weather affects my mental health.
Yeah, that is. And also, this has been like the coldest winter. I've been in New York now for, I think, 5, almost 6 years. And this is the coldest winter it's been since I've been here.
I've been here 9.
Yeah.
And I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah.
So, and it is so cold.
Yeah.
But like not a lot of snow.
No, it's just like lose a finger cold though. Like you need it.
Yes.
And I don't have gloves, but it's like you need gloves.
I'm always ill prepared.
Yeah, same.
So where are you from?
Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I didn't know people were actually from there.
It does sound like a place I made up to seem more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a children's book.
It is. Well, it was, I think, and this might not be correct. I have not Googled it. I'm 90% sure it was like a joke that a comedian used to say, Jack Benny. There's a statue of him in our town. And then they made
That's
it
so
into
funny.
a town.
I love that.
Yeah. But it's only like an hour outside LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Southern
Okay.
California, which I do say on stage. I'll just say it LA.
Yeah. I'm from LA.
Yeah. Because
for
Rancho
sure.
Cucamonga it's a conversation stopper. It's like, wait, where?
This is why when I talk to people from California, I always ask, like, they'll just say LA or San Francisco.
Yeah.
I always ask, like, are you from, like, the city proper or are you from, like, the surrounding area?
Yes, exactly. 100%. You're like, where actually?
Yeah, because it is a different experience.
Yes. 100%.
Entirely. Cool. So did you grow up with any siblings?
Yeah, I have an older brother, an older sister, and a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah, so 4 of us in total.
And so you're pretty much in the middle there. It's hard
Yeah,
before, but yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I say I was like the baby child for a long time because my younger sister's about 8 years younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah, she was like the extra that my parents were like, oh, we thought we were done, but I guess we're not.
But I guess we're not. Yeah, I got
Here
one
we
of
go.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much younger or older are they than you?
So my older brother is 2 years older than me, and my younger brother is 6 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So it's right there.
100%.
Totally. Awesome. Okay, so growing up, did you were you like an active kid? Were you more of like an artsy kid, or did you do sports? Like, what did that look like?
I probably did a mix of all of it because we were also pretty involved in like church, and so
Okay.
it was a lot of like church activities. So whatever was happening, like plays at church like sports leagues. My dad is a coach, so he was kind of like coaching whatever we wanted to do. So I did like softball, basketball. Was I good at any of them? No. I was not. Also wasn't good at like music either. My mom's very musical. She's a singer. She loves that. And my little sister is too. But no, I just did it for the love of the game.
The two things that your parents like made their life's work. You're
Yes.
like, not very good at those.
I was like, actually, I'm not good at any of it. That's cool. Well, I have no hand-eye coordination. Like I did track and cross country in high school, but that does not require you to like grab anything, learn any plays.
Very individual.
Yes, 100%.
I remember anytime I also did track in high school, and anytime I ever had to maybe do a relay race, I was so scared because I knew I was gonna mess up the baton.
Yes.
pass.
Oh yeah, the baton thing. I was like, that's
not gonna happen.
Yeah, that is not my calling at all. And it also stresses me out because you have to get it to them at a certain like.
Yes.
It's too much. That's a lot for me.
So much stress.
Yeah.
Okay, so being that you were active, have you ever been somebody that has struggled with their weight or thought about their weight?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very confusing situation. So I would say I never struggled with my weight. But I did, like in the last year, I lost, or maybe it's been 2 years now, I lost about 70 pounds, which I think it was like one of those things where I just was never really aware of my weight that much until it became like a very clear, like I was having like health issues from it.
No way.
Yeah. And then I was like, not super big health issues, but like on stage, I'm not a very energetic comic, but I was like out of breath a lot all the time. I was just like, I was tired. It's funny. Once I lost the weight, I was just like, I just thought I was tired because my schedule, my life or whatever. And I was like, oh, I also was eating very not good at all.
I mean, very common thing. Comics come on here and we always talk about how like when you're out and about and stuff, it's hard to not just have a slice of pizza.
100. Well, that's, I think, how like my health got away from me is like I was doing comedy. So I moved to the city, was doing comedy, and I was never, I guess I was a little bit thicker. I don't know. In like Black culture, we're just all built kind of like thicker.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a thing that I ever really thought about. But then I think doing comedy and moving to New York, it was like you would leave work or whatever, or your house at like 6 p.m. and then wouldn't eat anything before. And then by the time I'm done with spots, it's like 1 a.m. So you're starving. The only things open is like pizza, Taco Bell.
Yep.
I was like a regular at my local Taco Bell. Like I had an order.
Cheap.
Yes, and it's cheap. It's open late all the time. It's always good.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it just wasn't healthy to like eat that much and then go immediately to sleep and then wake up in the morning and
And I don't know, you know, what your relationship to alcohol is like at all, but like the occasional beer when you're out doing spots, because like is sometimes your form of payment, is such a way to like pack in calories that like you otherwise just aren't thinking about.
100%. And I was at SNL for 3 seasons, and my first season I lost the weight, started losing it the summer after my second season. Or the summer after my first season. But my first season there, the schedule is just like round the clock.
Yeah.
So then I'm waking up at like 12 in the afternoon. I'm grabbing like a venti coffee and a Danish and then eating whatever is available for lunch and then getting takeout for dinner. And then, drinking was a big thing too. That's where because I'm not a big drinker, but it's very social. It's very like after parties, you're having drinks and like, you know, late writing nights, you're having drinks. So you're taking shots then. And so that was also a really big thing too.
Was it also like super stressful?
Yes. And I think that also messes with like your cortisol levels and like you're never sleeping or whatever. It was more stressful just like hours wise, and also your first season too, you just really want to do a good job.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So it was just, I was eating round the clock. It was just, I think that was probably the most unhealthy. It was fun. I loved it.
Sure.
But most unhealthy year for sure.
Yeah. If I was in that position, I totally would end up gaining a lot of weight because I'm a stress eater. Like I wish I was a girl. I shouldn't say I wish, but like, you know, the girls that's like, I have so much anxiety, I can't eat. I'm like, that's when I'm like
100%
packing, like I'm bulking.
Yes, 100%. Nate Bargatze has a really good joke that he's like, you know that phrase, like I haven't had that in a while. He was like, I haven't said that in a while, and that is me. There's nothing that I was at a certain point. I was like, Taco Bell had it yesterday. Chick-fil-A had it the other day. Like nothing. I was like, I've had everything. I'm the same way. You'll never hear me be like, I was too anxious to eat. I'm like, that's what I do.
Yeah, no,
you stress, you eat.
Exactly. Especially when it's like, because when I'm stressed, I'm looking for comfort. And
Yeah.
that's where I find comfort. Is in
Yeah.
some grub.
100%. It's hard not to.
Yeah, totally. So, were you, I mean, I'm sure the answer is probably no, because I can't imagine fitting this into your schedule, especially while at SNL, but were you working out at all or anything?
My first season, not at all.
I would be like consumed by stress.
Until, like I said, I started on like the weight loss journey to get healthier. I really was not. That was probably the biggest issue too. Is like I'm not eating very well, but then I also just was not exercising. Like on occasion, I'd maybe go on a run through Central Park. Or I tried during the pandemic. You remember those like people were doing like at home. But I cannot motivate myself at home.
Nope.
I cannot do it for the life of me.
Yeah.
Or I was doing exercises where I'm like, and people are gonna hate this, where I'm like, is this real? Like Pilates, I don't understand how anyone ever lost weight doing Pilates. It's not.
I've been doing bar classes I started the day after Thanksgiving. So what is that? Like January, February. I'm on my 3rd month.
Nice.
I have not dropped a pound.
Yeah, it's
not a pound. I feel great.
Yes.
I feel strong. I have energy. Everything that you were talking about that you gained, like once you sort of like lost weight. My ability to manage stress is like better than it's ever been. But I went into it being like, I'm not doing this for weight loss.
Oh, that's great.
So if I had, I would have stopped by now.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. I was doing a lot of the like, I like to call them like women's fitness classes. They're not technically, but like
group fitness.
Soul Cycle, a lot of those. Yeah. Good for you though. I went to one bar class in my lifetime and I said never again.
It's so hard.
They had to move me to the tiny bar and I was the only person on it. She was like, oh, you're really not going to get it with the regular size bar. I was like, absolutely not.
Dude, I swear to God, the only thing that keeps me going is just like being able to lift my leg like an inch higher than I could the week before.
Beautiful.
Because it's so hard. And that's what really like, I had gone years without exercising. I don't know if it was the pandemic or what happened to me. My movement of my body on a fitness level came down to me just like going for really long walks. Like that's the level I was taking, which was great and working fine. And I think is like an incredibly valid form of exercise. And then I don't know, I think something happened astrologically. So my friends that are, super into astrology tell me something happened where I just, you know what it was? I got a new job.
Oh,
and I got access to like Gym Pass. That gym app. Gym Pass.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'll sign up. I'm new to this. Let's try it. And then all of a sudden I was just like, I want to try this. And I was so nervous, but I went and I just have been going ever since. But I mean it when I say like my motivating factor is just like being a little bit better at this one exercise that I couldn't even touch that first class. Like I wanted to walk out. I wanted to leave. And I was so shocked by how limited my mobility had become.
Yeah.
And I'm 32 and I was just thinking how like, when I'm 40, when I'm 50, when I'm 60, I need to take care of this now.
Yes, 100%. Well, that's actually funny that you mentioned. That's one of the things that kind of jump-started my weight loss is I read this book after college called Adulting.
So millennial.
So millennial. I love it. I don't know the author's name. She was like a redhead on the cover of it. But it was literally it was like the most millennial thing. And it was for like millennials who are like graduating or whatever and giving you like, here's what you have to have in your savings. Here's what you have to have, like, whatever. And she had mentioned this one thing, which is probably obvious to other people that I didn't think about, which is she had said, like, with, like, food and stuff, it's like if you gain, like, let's say, like, 5 pounds this year, that's not that bad, right? But if you gain 5 pounds over 5 years, that's like, what, 25 pounds?
Yeah.
I'm very bad at math. But yes. And so it just compounds. And like during the pandemic, one of the things was I just noticed the scale was like going up and up. And like every time I got on the scale, it was like a couple pounds more. And I was like, that's probably just not healthy for me in general. And so I just was like, okay, I got to make some sort of change.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't until I realized, I was like, oh yeah, that's probably not good, because I was 29 when I started losing the weight, and that was a time too where it's just like, things change, your metabolism changes so quick.
Oh yeah, so quick. and I think the pandemic is what I noticed, like a pretty significant weight gain for me. Because the pants were elastic.
Yeah.
The pants were elastic, and then I remember, I don't know, it was probably months later. Had to have been months later, where it was like, okay, like putting on real pants for the first time in literal months, and I was just like, oh, have these ever fit? And you start like gaslighting yourself, because you're like, I it's weird that these aren't fitting, you know, like it didn't dawn on me that I had gained weight.
Oh my gosh, we had the exact same moment. Because like after the pandemic happened, and it was because I was unemployed during that time, and then I got a job writing remotely, and so you didn't really have to wear like real clothes. And I just somehow my wardrobe had all evolved to like leggings and stuff, and I tried to put on real jeans for the first time, and I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
And I just assumed the same thing. I'm like, oh, it's the pandemic. Like I probably just outgrew or whatever. And I didn't think about like, oh no, but you were also eating teriyaki wings every single night at midnight.
Yeah. Randomly. You know, the thing that I loved about the pandemic was I connected with people I hadn't talked to in a while.
Yeah.
It was great. Like there had been friends from college and post college that like, it was just like, you know, you like their stuff on Instagram and maybe leave a comment, but it was just like, oh, this is crazy. Like, let's get on a FaceTime. And on the FaceTime, you're drinking.
Yes.
Literally, I was just like drinking tequila in my apartment.
In your apartment, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. It was a very special time, but I think it definitely, it caused my body to change.
Yes, 100%. And I was just like, no, I'm just a growing girl.
Yeah. Growing some ways.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah. So you mentioned how like sort of in, you know, Black culture, the women are thick, not really seen as like, you know, overweight necessarily.
Yes.
So I'm curious if you grew up in a house where are both your parents Black?
Yes, yeah.
Did you grow up in a house where like diet culture or dieting in general was introduced?
No, not at all, really, which is very interesting. I think also, and I don't know, we're the same age, and our mom's generations, at least to me, and maybe I'll just say, I think they had a lot of very toxic diet culture.
Oh,
yeah. And my mom had actually had a friend who, I think it was when she was in high school, who had died of anorexia.
That's
like
awful.
back before anorexia was like a thing. They were just like, go girl, you look great.
Yeah, you really have a handle on this.
Yes, 100%. And she died from a heart attack, what you eventually die of. Yeah, terrible. And so I think she was really scarred from like, oh, this is if people really have a bad body image or whatever. So no, she never commented. There was never any like diet culture. I have a joke in one of my first stand-up sets I ever did about how like I went home literally because after I moved to New York, you were walking around a ton, and I had just lost like maybe 5 pounds or whatever, and I went home and my mom was like so concerned. She was like, can you afford food? Like you and I've never been underweight in my life. like this is like barely 5 pounds, and she like was pulling me to the side like, what's happening? Are you okay? Like,
I love her.
Yes, so funny. Even when I lost the 70 pounds, she's always checking in, but like, how are you doing it? She's like, okay, and stop now.
Right.
That's what she always says to me. Okay, stop now.
Yeah. So when you had, did you like see your parents at all when you kind of had gained the weight, or had they kind of seen you gradually gain? I'm curious if they said anything to you about gaining weight.
You know, it's so funny. They did not. And even my parents, now that I've lost the weight, they'll be like, oh, if they see old pictures, like we have a family photo that's hanging in our living room, and they'll be like, oh yeah, you do look a lot different.
Yeah.
But they were actually probably one of the last like to really, they did not notice during the time that I was gaining weight. There's never a conversation, never said anything. Yeah.
I definitely come from a group of, like my family might say something to me, but they would applaud me. I've done the greatest thing if I lost weight after gaining it.
Oh, that's kind of hard, because that's like almost positive negative reinforcement.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Where you're like, even if it's unhealthy, because that's the thing, is sometimes you're like, you can lose weight in healthy ways, you can also lose weight in unhealthy ways. So it's like reinforcing no matter what. It's just like the outcome is that you're smaller, and that's good.
And that's thank God for that.
Yeah.
You know?
So that was like a big part of your childhood growing up.
Oh yeah. And it's everything that has made me up. It was 5 years old I was introduced to the concept of dieting, and it's just been on my mind ever since.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so it's so rare to meet someone like you.
Yeah.
I can't I mean, I would talk to mostly comics on this show, and it's even like, it doesn't matter, gender.
Yeah.
It's, what I also like talking about people, about food specifically from other cultures is just how, it's so ingrained in all of our cultures, food. And I just think the way that we all kind of operate around it is really interesting, whether it's like celebratory or, going to for comfort or whatever it is. We all have like some kind of relationship with it. But yeah, to have, I think it's interesting that, your mom had that friend who tragically passed away due to an eating disorder, and she kind of went the correct route with teaching with how the relationship with food she would want her kids to have, imparting that on them, because I feel like there are plenty of people that could still have that happen with a friend, and it kind of, they go the opposite way with imparting a bad relationship with food on their kids.
That is very true, where she could have been like very controlling about it. Yeah,
instead of just like letting you live.
Yes. Yeah.
Were you like a naturally good student, or did your parents have to did they demand excellence from you in any way?
My parents were very they wanted us to get good grades. It was always a conversation if we didn't. I don't know where I've gotten this from. I've always put a lot of pressure on myself for some reason. Like, even as a kid, other girls play dolls and stuff.
Yeah.
I would play a librarian with my sister.
Yes.
I would play work. It was so weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I should talk to somebody and figure out where there's got to be a moment in my life where I was the pressure is on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. I've just always put an insane amount of pressure on myself. But they wanted us to have good grades and things like that. And for the most part, I did. I was always really bad at math. I don't think I've ever really fully gotten better than a C in a math class in my life.
But that C didn't drive your parents crazy. They weren't just be good at this.
No. Yeah, for the most part.
Wow, very balanced.
I know,
family.
weirdly balanced.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to something.
Yeah.
You're gonna talk about something. I'm gonna be like,
hit
that.
Yeah, we'll touch up. We'll hit a nerve. We'll hit a
I'm
nerve.
like, they kidnapped me. I forgot about that part. I am a refugee, so.
Oh man, are they both from California?
No, my dad is from Bayshore, Long Island.
Oh, cool.
Yes, that feels correct. And then my mom is also from New Jersey, but she moved out to California when she was 5. I think my dad moved out when he was 11.
Got it.
Something.
Okay, so
basically California.
Basically California, a little bit.
They would say no just to be more interesting, but basically
Yeah,
California.
for sure. I mean, where you're born is where you're born. So did you have grandparents or anything that would comment on your weight or anything like that?
No, for the most part. I'm trying to think of as a kid if there were any moments or anything like that. No, my family never really commented on weight or anything like that. I would say if anything there was maybe outside forces. I think just coming up in the 2000s was a mind trip for anybody.
Yes.
I remember not fitting into a Hollister shirt, and mostly just because I had curves.
Right.
Those things were made, but it was if you are not cardboard, and the 2004 is what are you doing?
Yes.
So I think there was a lot of that. There was a lot of looking around and being being tiny is better. And it's so funny, you look back at photos of yourself years later and you're I was fine.
Oh my gosh.
It's great.
I saw you seen that trend online of I got coffee with my younger self?
Oh yeah. Yes.
I kind of hate it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's
And I
very
respect
cringe.
that. Yes.
I think it's very cringe. But whatever. Everyone live your life. Post what you want to post. But my friend sent me one that was I got coffee with my younger self, and I told her, if you think this is fat, just
that's so funny. That's hilarious. Because I can imagine that conversation of listen, you love this time.
Yes, you need to relax.
Yeah.
You need to relax. But it's so funny because I'm sure I gleaned this from TikTok, like most information in my head, but something to the effect of you know, back in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
a photo would be taken of us, and then we wouldn't see it. You know, yeah, you maybe saw it on your digital camera screen.
Yes.
But like you didn't get to see the photo of it until you plugged it into your desktop computer and it populated. And then before that, you didn't see the photo until it got developed on film.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, we just have immediate access to how we look in photos.
Yeah.
And it's hard for our brain to connect that, because when you, especially if you take a photo on film, and then get it developed, you're like, you might even think like, oh, I look cute in that photo.
Yeah.
Or as long as some time can pass between the photo being taken and you seeing the product of that photo,
Yes.
I feel like we had less of like, oh, I hate the way I look in that.
Yes. Yes.
But even still, like, just that feeling of, you know, being, you know, in your teens and your early 20s and just feeling so hating the way your body looked because you didn't fit into Hollister, but really like you just lived in a normal body.
Yes.
But just wasn't the standard. It wasn't like the, you know, models on Girl Next Door and
Yes.
what you saw on, you know, Christina Aguilera, all that stuff.
100%. That is an interesting time.
Yeah. Yeah. It was such a, it was so blatant. Like I talk about it all the time on this podcast. I really need to find a different example, but Jumbo Jessica.
What's that?
Jessica Simpson.
Oh, we don't talk enough about
Yeah.
that. About a lot of that. How there was what is the character? There's some sort of character in a movie who was supposed to be even America Ferrera and Sister in
Yes.
the Traveling Pants.
Yes.
She is not. They
Her
ta-
and Ugly Betty.
Yes, you go back. You're like, she's actually fine.
Fine.
They talk about her. I saw a really funny meme about that. Sister of the Traveling Pants. How the whole entire premise of that movie was basically like, oh my gosh, we all fit in these jeans, even Fat Carmen. It's like that really is.
That really is the movie.
Because I do remember them all trying it in the dressing
Yeah.
room, and all the girls were like, "Oh my gosh, I can fit, you can fit," and then they were like, "Carmen's turn."
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that movie.
Crazy, insane.
God, it's just it's hard to. You know, we you know, you can say, oh, I wish I could tell my younger self to relax, but how could we?
Yeah,
It was so like, you know, destabilizing.
Yes, there was no way. It was just like, let it ride.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So how long has it been since you've lost 70 pounds?
I started in what year are we in? 2025. End of like August of 2022. Is that correct? Maybe August of 2023. That feels more accurate.
Is when you started or lost it?
That's when I started losing it.
Okay, when you started losing it.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever accused you of going on Ozempic?
Has everyone? Yes. I tried to write a bit about this in my stand-up, and it's not working, about how like it sucks to have lost weight naturally when there was a weight loss drug that happened like maybe the month or two after.
Literally.
Yeah.
You like just missed it.
Yes, I just missed it. 100%. Almost exclusively everyone. And I'm trying to write about like, I did the work. And what was the point?
What was the point?
There is no point.
What's tripping me out about people going on weight loss drugs and seeing it more and more is everyone, you know, people go on weight loss drugs, they lose a bunch of weight, especially if they're going from a really high weight to like now like a more stable or however you want to describe it kind of weight.
Yeah.
They'll post like before and after reels or TikTok videos of like August 2024, maybe not August, but like April 2024, you know, 285 pounds. And then the next slide will be November 2024, 150 pounds. And it's like, wait, that is such little time to lose that much weight.
Scary, right?
It's tripping me out.
100%. Because some of these things are happening like fully overnight. Where I'm like, but it is kind of because it's a food suppressant, right?
Yes, it's an appetite suppressant.
Appetite suppressant, yeah. Which doesn't, that's the thing, which I'm very glad that I did it the way I did it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, number one, you either have to stay on it for life.
You do, yeah.
Or you still have to like go through the work of figuring out how to like stop whatever was making you do whatever.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like not fully a fix for long term, but also I'm just like, yeah, it just seems too good to be true, but also a lot of weight in a very short amount of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the way that you, your body will look eventually will be very different if you lost 100 pounds in 6 months' time versus a year's time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because if you drop weight quickly, your skin doesn't have a chance to sort of go with that deficit.
Oh, interesting.
And then it causes like, saggy skin and stuff.
Oh.
Not to say that if you lost 100 pounds naturally that you couldn't maybe have that, naturally meaning not Ozempic.
Yeah.
But really like the longer it takes to lose weight, you generally want to, it's so funny because I'm not a doctor, obviously.
No, I
but
love it.
I have just too much knowledge about this.
Yes.
But generally, you want to lose around like 1 pound to 2 pounds a week.
Okay.
To be at a
steady normal.
A steady normal, not have sagging skin kind of weight loss. But yes, you brought up a very good point of like, it's an appetite suppressant. So are you really learning how to eat at a calorie deficit or maintenance so that you don't then gain the weight back?
Yes.
A lot of people are gaining the weight back after they get off the drugs.
Yeah, I guess it's the same old story that it always is, which is just like everybody's looking for the shortcuts, and you just gotta do it the regular. Which is easier said than done. It's 100%. One of those things where it's like it's not easy, but it's simple kind of a thing.
It's been my life path.
Yes.
It's like been my constant. It's my ring.
Yes.
It's just like figuring out what that is and like being like, but body positivity, like who you are. You don't have to lose weight. Like also having that being in there. And I don't want to sit here and be like, so how did you lose the weight? But I am curious sort of what were the mental shifts that took place? Like what happened? What did your change look like to where you got on the path of losing a significant amount of weight?
No, that's a really great question. I think there was like a lot of small moments that kind of led to me going like, okay, I'm a little unhealthy. Like I told you, I was really out of breath on stage, and I had actually sent like a tape of my comedy to my manager just to have him like check out a couple jokes or whatever. And he was like, oh yeah, just like slow down. You seem like you're probably really nervous because you were like out of breath. And I was not nervous. This was like a place that I perform all the time. It was just like a whatever kind of a set. And I was like, oh, I really am out of breath. That was kind of one of the things that made me like, okay. I was like really tired all the time. So that was a click. And then I was dating a guy. And when I say this, it sounds like it's going to be super traumatic. It wasn't really. I was dating a guy who happened to be like really into bigger women, like almost verging on like a little like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, and I remember I didn't think, like I said, I guess I kind of had like weight blindness, or I really wasn't thinking about my weight in any sort of way like that. And I remember he kept mentioning like, oh yeah, I don't like skinny women. Like I'm not big into skinny women. And like, oh, I would never like Victoria's Secret models. And I kept being like, well, look at me being the outlier. I'm crying. And then one day I went, wait a second. Maybe I'm not the outlier. Huh. Isn't that a novel idea?
Oh my God. You're like, my personality is, I'm able to overcome.
I'm his first skinny girl. That's how deep I was into my own, like, cool, good for me. And then you ever tell a friend something and they're like, I have such a loving, sweet, adoring friend. And she was just like, yeah.
She's just like,
yeah. Okay. Like, I don't know what I should say because you clearly see. And then I kind of started to put the pieces together and I go, well, 1 + 1 = 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Which, again, super great guy. I wish him all the best. But it was one of those things that clicked for me where I go, oh, okay, maybe I have gained a little bit more weight than I thought. And like, maybe, and that attached with the like unhealthiness and just like, I shouldn't be eating Taco Bell every day at like 12 a.m. And yeah. And so I started putting those pieces together. And then I was working a job in between SNL that just had long, like during the summers I was on a show and the hours were really, really long. And I was just cooped up in my apartment like all the time. It was on Zoom and I was on Zoom from like 12 in the afternoon till like 9 p.m. Like it was just round the clock writing, and I just needed like something to do that was like not in my apartment, and I really was just like, I need to like go to the gym or go to X. So that kind of is what got me back into dabbling in like fitness and health, and then once I kind of started to do that, it's like, oh, I started working out a little bit, and then you don't want to like, mess up the workouts or whatever by eating Taco Bell. So then I was like, oh, I should actually start looking into like what's kind of good, healthy things to eat. And my thing is, the way that I figured out I was going to keep losing the weight is like, and I had listened to, I wish I know the name of the podcast, but it was kind of a podcast about weight loss. And one of the things that she had mentioned was like, if you start with an unreasonable diet, right? Like you start with being like, I'm only going to eat like skinned salmon and broccoli.
Yeah.
Like you're never going to keep it up. And also like New York is such a social place where it's like, if you feel like you can't go out with your friends or you can't whatever and like get pasta or whatever, you're just never going to stick to it. And so I really made an effort to go like, okay, what are things that I like to eat that are within like healthy ranges and things. And one of those big things was like, I'm never going to give up my coffee. I just can't. But I was drinking things like, my favorite drink at Starbucks was like a white mocha, which is so good. And then I found out it has as many calories as a Big Mac. And I was drinking one every single day as part of my breakfast.
Yeah,
not
in
even
the
just
morning.
in the morning. Yeah, not even just like as part of my breakfast, I was drinking a Big Mac every day. And so then I started looking at TikTok and like modifications for like coffees that are like still sweet but have like less sugar and less calories. And so then I started doing that, and that helped a lot. And then I started being like, okay, what's like a good breakfast that's going to keep me full? And then there was a point where I went a little crazy on the like whole protein thing where, I was like, oh,
that could happen.
Yes, where you get a little too. I was like, I'll do protein chips and creatine and like I'll be like a real gym girl. And I was like, I actually am not trying to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, but I think that goes along with this. You need to go on the journey where you're like too intense for a second. Yep. And it's just like, I don't want to live like that.
Yeah.
And so really now it's become a lot of like just like, eating in moderation. It's like I'll have a salad for lunch, or I'll have like a turkey wrap. I'll have like a regular dinner. I try to eat at home if I can.
Yeah.
Less alcohol, or I really just try to like not go too intense, and then just do that thing where I'm like, if I want like a frozen yogurt or ice cream or whatever, I don't like look at it as like a punishment or anything.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think coffee is such a good example
Yeah.
of the perfect thing. I think coffee is something that with an all or nothing diet, which has been every diet I've ever done, has always been an all or nothing thing. And I'm trying to like relearn how do I eat in moderation without total restriction.
Yes.
And coffee is the perfect thing of like, in a restrictive diet, you drink your coffee black.
Yes.
Maybe a touch of, skim milk or almond milk or something, but like no sweetener. Because you can't be having a white mocha, latte.
Exactly.
But in reality, if you, do what you just described, and then like, let's say you're going into like a really hard day at SNL or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the caramel praline latte.
Yes.
This one time because I'm going into a really hard day.
100%.
I think that's like, you have to respect the balance.
Yes, yeah, and that's the point. That's a great example, because that's exactly where I had to get to, where I'm like, it is okay if you have like a caramel latte today.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And then tomorrow you just go back and do your normal thing or whatever.
Substitutions.
Yes, but the thing that I think doesn't work, and especially for me, like I said, I'm never a person, I don't have great restraint. So like I lost all the weight, and people think like, oh, you're
cured.
Eat, yes, or you eat super healthy now. I've had friends who are like, oh, you still eat like taco or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I work out a ton now. I go to the gym like maybe 5 times a week, and then I just eat. Yeah, and I've really just gotten into the gym too. I really love just like strength training, and I enjoy like doing cardio and stuff. So that's also been super helpful, as I realized I really do like being active.
Yeah.
I just had not for a minute. So that was good. But
Can relate.
Yes, but I don't eat like super, super healthy or anything. It's really more about the whole moderation thing, and just being like, because I also don't want to be miserable, and I don't want to be, we've all been with those people who like look at the menu you and the whole like, you know how sugar is in fruit people. I'm like, I can't.
Get out of my face.
You know what I mean? Like I can't with those people. I will never get to that level.
If you tell me you have a problem with the amount of sugar that is in fruit, I will tell you have you have a distorted view of what your diet should be.
100%.
It's like such a tell.
Yes.
Now, if you if the only thing you've eaten all day is a bunch of fruit and then, you almost shit your pants,
yeah,
I will tell you it's because of the sugar in the fruit.
Yes.
And you ate it on an empty stomach and that runs right through you. But like, sugar and fruit is not a reason to not eat fruit.
Yes,
Please eat fruit.
Exactly. Like you're gonna be okay. It's fine.
Cue the person saying, I have this and I can't.
Yes,
I totally get it. People have medical things. There
Yes.
is diet restrictions within medical things, totally. But like for, status quo, homeostasis kind of thing, fruit is chill.
Do what you gotta do.
Totally chill. Damn, that is so healthy and well-rounded.
I'm trying. I really did, though. Like I said, I did go on a little bit of a crazy protein thing for like maybe a month or so.
God, protein chips suck.
And anything, I was telling somebody this recent, anything that has protein in it, it always tastes like protein. Even when people are like, you won't taste the protein, you do.
Yeah, you
do.
absolutely taste the protein.
Always. It has like a very specific aftertaste.
Yeah.
The chips, the whatever, and those protein Pop-Tarts.
Ew.
Have you ever had one of those?
No.
Those are the grossest things I've ever had in my entire. It tastes like plastic.
A lot of people are hawking on TikTok shop Built bars and Built Puff bars or something.
I haven't.
They look so vile.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's always things where I'm like, guys, this isn't doing what you're. Or people who like make other things where they're like, we're going to make a chocolate cake out of chalk. You're like, no, it doesn't taste like it. You just ruined your taste buds.
Yeah.
Like,
Certain substitutions I really can get down with.
Yes.
But moreover, I hate that.
Same.
Like taking, PB2 and mixing it with cottage cheese
Yes.
and like now you have peanut butter.
Yeah.
It's like, no, bro, that's not peanut
it's
butter.
gross. Yes. Some of it is
If you
okay.
like that, if you can get that down, I'm jealous of you.
Yes. Same.
Because it's not for me.
Same. I'm like, that is not anything mixed with cottage cheese. I've tried to fall for that scam. I tried to. It's so gross.
Yeah, I like the one thing that jumps out to me as like I can do the substitution is Greek yogurt subbing for sour cream.
Yes.
That is my favorite, which
Yeah.
like just goes to show how like kind of gross Greek yogurt is by
Yes,
itself. Like
yeah.
I only can eat it with like savory things that would call for sour cream.
100%.
And then you have actual sour cream and you're like, oh, this is no comparison, but I
Yeah,
get
you're like,
it.
This is better. It just is.
But like that's the thing. Like, do I want to have like it is so many more calories to have something like sour cream. So if I can enjoy, a baked potato or whatever it is, a pierogi with Greek yogurt as opposed to
Yes.
sour cream, like then maybe that's the decision for you if you want to stay within, a certain calorie set. So were you tracking calories?
Okay, my journey with calorie tracking. I tried to do my MyFitnessPal thing. I can't. I'm never going to be able to keep that up. Do you know what I mean?
It is such a slog.
Yes, that is my thing is like, and I know people who have like food scales or whatever. If I have to spend any amount of energy in my life counting calories.
You hate math.
Yeah, I hate
There's
math.
no way you can count calories.
There literally literally and figuratively. Yes,
Yeah.
there is no way. Truly though, I'm like if I have to sit there and be like, okay, so how much did I burn off, and then I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I really have to just go with moderation and hope.
I so love that you said that because something that I've been seeing on the internet, my algorithm is all, this kind of stuff, is so many people get online and they do this. This is what they do. If you're not tracking your calories, you will not lose the weight.
Yes.
I'm going to say it again. If you are not tracking your calories, you will not lose the weight.
Yes.
And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yes.
I hate you.
I agree with that one. I'm even starting to hate the term calorie deficit.
Oh my God, I cannot hear the term calorie deficit anymore.
Because it's a term that describes a thing that is like, has always been, which is eat less, burn more. Like
Yes.
100, you say it like it's like this original. And I think that goes along with the like exercise, eat in moderation, you will be fine.
Diet culture loves buzzing a term.
Yes, they do. And yes, you're right. I've seen that. So that's so funny that you did because I've seen that exact. And that's always how they start. I'm just going to say it. Or
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
it always starts with like, I'm going to hurt some feelings right now. The minute I hear that, I'm like, scroll.
Don't care.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna be annoyed. You are
Save
correct.
that in my hate collection.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it's so I have because I'm also because I went to TikTok a lot to find like exercises or apps
Great
or things like that.
resource.
Really, really great resource. But a lot of my algorithm is things like that or like
Totally.
and a lot of it's helpful. But then sometimes you get some that you're just like, that's not super helpful.
I
and-
like peering into the other side.
Yes.
The toxic side.
Yeah.
I like peering in to what is happening over there.
100%.
Because I know how much that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
That it's interesting to see, and I was talking about this with my therapist. I never really understood why that didn't connect for me. Like, I don't know why I need a more gentle approach, but a gentle approach has been the only thing that has gotten me to a place where I eventually have the motivation to make changes that I want to make.
Yes.
I don't know why, but it is something that it's, beyond me to be able to explain, but there is like, it has something to do with like, dopamine and serotonin and all of that, but it's unsustainable. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
That kind of motivation for someone like me is unsustainable.
Yeah.
I can maybe get into it and only have black coffee because, I don't want to be a fucking idiot or whatever these bitches are calling me because I'm not doing the thing that they're saying to do.
Yes.
And then I drop off.
Yeah, I am the same way. I feel the same way in like my comedy in my life too. I don't, because I've always seen comics and men, especially who go up on stage and they're like, "I'm gonna bury you," or "I'm gonna."
Yeah.
Negative reinforcement, things
Never.
like that, has never worked for me. I need to feel inspired, and I need to feel like, all right, I can do this, and like this is whatever. I can't do the the
Drill
anger.
sergeant.
Yes, it's insane.
Never worked for me.
No.
And there always I feel like when you're someone like that needs a more gentle approach, people like look at it as like a weakness or like you're not as hard. And
Yes.
it's like I'm gonna get the work done. I just
Yeah.
need a different approach.
Exactly. I just don't need you to scream at
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I can't do the screaming.
Yes,
I
same.
can't. Oh man, I had a question. What we were talking about. So you don't do calorie counting. Yes, that's very interesting. What you kind of just. I'm going on moderation and hope.
Yeah. Well, truly, because it's like it does work in that way. And like I said, and the thing I always joke about with people is like I was eating really unhealthy. So
Right.
it's like when you go from eating really, really unhealthy to like eating like, oh, a salad for lunch, or
Yeah.
like the thing I can't stand of the TikTok trends too are the what I eat in a days.
Yeah,
I'm like, no.
that's a lie.
Yes. I'm always like, you don't have any snacks? That's the thing that gets me. It's not even the full meal. It's like there's no snacks in there.
Yeah.
I'm a snacker.
Yeah, I'm a snacker.
Yeah.
What I eat in a day, the only reason why I can watch them is because I know they're lying. On the contrary, what I do really enjoy,
Yes.
what I used to eat as a fat person.
Oh,
And they'll talk about like it'll literally be a girl or somebody being like, "This was my Taco Bell order. This is my Taco Bell order now."
I love that.
I love it because it's so. I think it's hard for. I think part of the reason why people end up gaining weight, kind of like what you were describing. Oh, I was just eating Taco Bell. You don't realize the caloric value of things.
Yes, 100%.
And you don't realize that there's alternatives that could still be satisfying
100%.
that are, not something that's going to be outside of your limits of calories that your body should be ingesting.
Oh, 100%. And I think that was also part of what helped me lose the weight is just that like simple shift of like, okay, you can still find things that you like and that you enjoy that taste good, but like, yeah, aren't insane amounts of calories, which I think is a big thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. But the caveat to that, because there's always a caveat, be careful if you're watching weight loss influencers that are on GLP-1s, because I have gone to Chick-fil-A and tried to do like a dupe swap meal.
Oh, yeah.
And been starving after. And then I'm like, oh, because that person's on a GLP-1.
Wait, what's a GLP-1?
Ozempic.
Oh.
Yeah, semaglutide. Yeah,
Oh, that's good to
all
know.
it is. Yeah, so bear in mind that is also like when they're giving you a great dupe for a Chick-fil-A meal, don't think you're like a monster because you're still hungry. That person that showed you that, swap might be on a an appetite suppressant.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that is 100%
I had
correct.
that came to me like light bulb moment.
Yeah.
So I was just sitting there and I was just like having an existential crisis of like, why am I still hungry? I
Yeah.
don't get it. This was good, but it's not enough. And then I was just like, oh my God, they're on Ozempic.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and that's why I think it can be a little bit insidious if you're a weight loss influencer or an influencer in general that's like lying about or not copping to being on a weight loss drug, because it's like you can have moments like I just had of like, oh, I'm crazy because I'm still hungry.
100%. I also think, and this might just be me, and this might just be ageist, I think that you need to disclose if you are like a fitness or health person online if you are younger than 25. Because the amount of times I've seen advice from girls and their bio is like 21, college student, I'm like, your body is going through a different thing right now. Like, not to say that it's easier, but a lot of times when you're younger, you're moving around more. You're like, but there's just things where I'm like, I don't want to hear your advice about how to get abs. I don't think it was that difficult right now.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Though we are coming to almost be at time. So I want to ask you, did you notice after you're losing the weight, people treating you differently, especially in the comedy industry?
Yes.
Let's hear about it.
A thing that I discovered too, which I was kind of, like I said, I was always kind of thicker growing up, but like average, I will say, weight when I was growing up. And then it was really like my 20s and stuff that I had started to gain the weight, and then the pandemic a lot or whatever. And I started comedy at like 24. I did not realize, and this is my own experience, my own journey, I didn't realize how much of a like, and this is bad, but it's just my truth. I didn't know how much of a safeguard being thicker was to like kind of creepy men in comedy. I noticed when I lost the weight, a lot more sliding in my DMs, a lot more showing up to shows being like, oh, where my hug at? A lot more just like kind of weird behavior, and I did not realize. Like I've obviously, every woman isn't immune because men will try to get with anybody. Yeah. So obviously throughout the years you had your people and like the guy, whatever. But like the amount of attention after I lost the weight was a big shift. But I only really noticed it in comedy, and maybe it's because I think a lot of men, and every woman knows this, men will a lot of times treat women that they're interested in like trying to date way different than women that they don't see as like an option or anything like that. And so I found myself being considered by a lot of creepier men as like options, which is kind of funny because I'm like, the weight wasn't holding me back. That is not what was stopping me from you, my guy. Just because you're interested now doesn't mean I ever was. But yes, that is something that I experienced a lot, which was very weird, where you go like, oh, there's just a lot more creepier attention. I remember like a club, a guy who was booking stuff at clubs, I don't think he does anymore. Like, I walked into a show once. This is a man who is in charge of putting me on shows and like booking me for shows. Looks me up and down, goes, oh. He goes, you look incredible. He's like, you should be in LA now. And he was like, well, I know because I lost a bunch of weight before. And like,
they try to be
people
like
love when you acknowledge it. And I'm like, I don't mind if you're like, oh, hey, you look great or whatever. That's fine to me. Everybody's going through their own journey. But like looking somebody up and down and like really weird.
This is like, people say nuance is dead. That is the nuance I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like there is a difference between
big difference.
Someone being like, oh my God,
yeah,
look at you.
Yeah, you look great. Good for you.
Compared to what you just described.
Yeah, compared to like making you visibly, and then also a position of power, like you're a person who could or could not give me spots.
You're kind of my boss in this context, and I don't even want to say that out loud because I don't want you to think that you're my boss.
Yes,
but kind of.
100%, but kind of. And it's like that kind of energy I noticed was a shift. In the greater world, not so much, I think, because I just am kind of unobservant and I've always kind of been a happier person. So I've never, but like in the comedy community, I for sure experienced a lot. Big 180s.
I thought so. I thought that would be your
yes,
so I wanted to
and it was crazy because I didn't even realize. I was just like, oh, okay.
Any sort of, so like that kind of is like a bad thing.
Yes.
Any like good things come from it? You notice like any perks?
Any perks from that's really interesting. This is, I don't know if this is good or bad to say. It's fine. We'll bury it. Just don't clip it. It was funny after I lost all the weight and I had like a meeting with like my managers and agents. they had never asked about like acting or whatever. And then afterwards they were like, and of course you want to act, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, now you can see
Now
me as
this
maybe
is
acting.
coming out. Yeah.
Which is, it's fine. I love them. Shout out to them. But just was very funny.
That is industry.
Yes,
Like, and
it
that's
is.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's not because they have bad morals. You know, it's
No.
not because they are inherently fat phobic people.
Yes.
It is just they were working with you in the context of the industry, and then all of a sudden, because you've lost weight, there were aspects of the entertainment industry that became available to you.
Yes, it's a very interesting thing in that way where you just have to accept in this industry, this is what it is what we signed up for.
Yeah.
You're very front facing. It's like good or bad, this is what it is, 100%. But it was just fascinating because people always say that you can either be like the fat funny friend, which I would have probably had to gain a little bit more weight to do that,
Yeah.
or you can be like whatever I am, the quirky friend who's like, come on girls, we'll go to the party.
Yeah,
Like I'm
yeah.
still friend category, we love, but like it was just funny that like that had never been mentioned, and then all of a sudden it was like, and you act, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you were someone in a bigger body that was going to be going for acting, let's say you were advocating for yourself and you were
Yes.
telling your management that's what
Uh-huh.
what you wanted, you would be going for roles where your weight was centered and focused.
Yes, 100%.
You couldn't just be a friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, and I hope we start seeing a little bit of shift in that.
I think we are a little bit, but I agree.
Yes, because it does feel like it has to be part of your story. You can't just
Yes.
exist in a show. That's why I really liked Adie Bryant's show,
Shrill.
Shrill.
I loved it.
I love Shrill
Yeah.
because it wasn't like central to who it wasn't like we are like she started off the show with like a boyfriend. He's very cute. She's very cute. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like a thing.
Her weight in that show was brought up in ways that made total sense. Like my favorite example of this was the Plan B
yes,
and
yes.
how it didn't work.
Exactly.
That
which
was like
is-
perfect.
It was like a perfect episode, but it wasn't like we're entering this world through like woman who is fat and disgraced and doesn't like.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I hate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I really loved our conversation.
I did too. This was a lot of fun.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Isn't this stuff so fun to talk about?
It really is. It unleashes a lot. You're like,
It's like
oh yeah.
my favorite topic.
It is so fun.
And I really loved your perspective of not having a fucked up relationship with food from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sorry if I try to make it seem like I was fishing to find someone that should make you feel bad. I just was like, no, really? There wasn't
You're like,
anybody?
wait a second. Yeah. Watch,
like,
I'll
no,
get
just
home and I'll
society.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
wait a second.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, just growing up in the early 2000s. Just
Yeah.
now.
I
being
do. That did remind me of. Are we wrapping it up?
We're wrapping, but like
Okay.
we're good.
Okay.
I make the rules.
had
so.
one. I did just remember in my 20s, I was in LA and I was trying to do like hosting, like red carpet reporting.
Uh-huh.
Like, and I remember he had us do, for some reason, like this exercise where we were doing like pretending to be in a commercial, and it was like a weight loss commercial, pretending to like sell a weight loss drug. And this man was really trying to get me to like cry or open up or feel something. And he was like, no, like you have to really feel emotions when you're doing this. Like, do you feel like you could lose weight? Do you feel like you need to lose weight? And I was like, I don't know. I guess everybody feels like they could gain or lose like 5 to 10 pounds.
I love that.
And he goes, no, everybody doesn't feel like they could lose 5 to 10 pounds. Do you need to lose 5 to 10 pounds? And I was like, I don't know. Do I? It's crazy.
Do you know something I don't know?
Yeah. Again, I was I was like, I am living my life.
Yes. As you should have been.
As I should.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, tell the people where to find you.
You can find me at Very Vannessa, 2 N's in Vannessa, on anything except for Twitter. Or
Got it.
X. Yeah.
Autocorrect hates your name.
Autocorrect hates my name.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes you like you have to know me for 2 years
Yeah.
before your phone is officially like, okay, fine.
I know, and I'm very particular about getting the spelling of people's names right.
Thank you for
because
that.
like it's your name.
Yeah.
It's your legacy. And so every time my phone kept autocorrecting, even just in my own notes, because I want to make sure the name is correct in my notes so I don't have a blunder when I publish.
Yes, 100%.
And it kept autocorrecting. I was like, God damn it.
I know. It's like probably the most annoying thing. It's just one letter differentiation.
Yeah.
And it has been the biggest pain in my life. But
Yeah.
now I'm like obsessed with it.
No, it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
so uniquely you.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. All right, guys. Everywhere you can find Vannessa will be in the description of the show notes. And until next week, we'll talk to you. Bye.